The 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum, held recently in Darwin, proved to be an outstanding success. This year's theme, Developing the North, saw a host of successful Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander business owners and operators sharing their insights and business experience.
If I can share what was successful for me and a basic rundown of how it occurred, it may give others who are interested and are not yet working with a larger capacity partner and want to, an idea. And I think it should be mentioned that for me, number one, it wasn't a 5-minute process. For me, it was collaboration formed through networks over time and grown organically. And number two, it felt right. It takes me back to my early days working for the old man out in the remote regions, where we weren't just completing work for people with limited choice, but also where people were living in complete energy poverty. Here in urban areas, energy is obviously an everyday part of life. We have power to heat and cool our homes, to charge our phones, and in some cases even charge our cars. And it's an expected luxury, and so it should be. We live in a first world country. The reality is, though, that the large majority of us depend upon energy companies or a provider for electricity, clean water and communications. We depend upon the server around the corner to buy fuel for our cars. We depend upon the shop around the corner to buy food and fuel ourselves. However, in remote areas, these luxuries aren't always there. So energy independence in remote regions is very, very important. I always used to feel a sense of pride being able to walk into someone's home and reinstate power. And I think it'd be safe to say that a lot of us in here today, if we had to go home to a home with no power, we'd be pretty unhappy about it. And the truth is, we have then and we still have now people in our wealthy first world country living in third world conditions. And most of these people are Australia's original inhabitants. It's us. And it just isn't acceptable because we live in a first world country. I did want to also mention the development of EPPS. It's an electrical product procurement supply, which I'm in with my brother. It's an exciting partnership, and I think it's it speaks to collaboration between Indigenous to Indigenous enterprise. Also working very closely with PSG Holdings, and I think it's a testament to building a strong Indigenous business in Australia through Indigenous to Indigenous partnerships. It combines strength, capability and culture, and will become a shining example of how to build an authentic, sustainable Indigenous business here in Australia. And I think it sends a strong message to the business world that we can continue to move forward in leaps and bounds and that we are in control of our own destiny. And I believe, in summary, that the Indigenous way is the collaborative way, and done in the correct manner with respect, integrity and accountability, we can achieve anything. Thank you.
We're here at the 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum, and I'm with Lynette from Particle Tours. Now, can you tell us all about your business?
Yeah, sure. We operate a 2-hour cultural experience just out of Darwin. We're on the Adelaide River, just before the wetlands. And basically, a 2-hour cultural experience consists of people coming out. We do a small welcome to country. We then take you on a bush tucker walk and talk, teach you a little bit about clapsticks and didgeridoo making, as well as dilly bag and basket weaving. We do some spear throwing activities out there, and then we basically take you back and give you some cold refreshments, give you a little bit of damper, and which is bush bread, and then and then a refreshment, and then away you go. Yeah.
That sounds really good, and I'd love to come out there sometime. Now, how did you find this forum? Was it helpful for you?
Definitely. We've got some good business out of this, and some really good stuff. It's amazing, and heaps of great people now that we're going to follow up from here and have a chat with. And all of it's just been positive. I'm so excited. I'm just going, oh my God. When I get back, I'm going to be sending emails off, and I can see we're going to get a lot out of this conference. Definitely, these forums are actually really good, good networking, and like I was saying, we picked up some really good business today. that's going to see us have a brighter future, especially working with a lot of the hotel chains up here in Darwin, because one of the, you tap into markets all the time, and it's hard, like if you're on the outside of it and you're trying to get into it, but if you have hotel managers approaching you, then it's a total turnaround. So and we definitely had that here at this forum.
The 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum.
To further engage investors, we started to look at, well, what is the social return on their investment? So we talk about, in the non-profit sector, it's about social return. But how do you actually talk to an investor who's putting hard cash into your idea and actually say, well, this is the value that's creating? And so you have a look in terms of Gambina. For every dollar that comes in, an investor gets $6.70 return. So if you talked about that in a commercial sense, that's a 670% return. So it's really good value when people are actually making their decisions of whether they'll stay with you in terms of what's the value, and they're using their head, because you engage people around the heart, around what you're trying to achieve, but it's the head that actually keeps them engaged. The other thing is that in that time is philanthropy, and it still is a little bit, it likes to do startup, and it'll only stay with you for 1, 2 or 3 years, and then it likes to hand on for someone else. And that most of the philanthropy that's been with Gambina has been with Gambina for 10 years. And basically as they stay there, because they actually say the evidence that you're providing and what's actually being achieved is we can't find anything else that has greater value to actually for us to put our money into. So we demonstrate the value. We have a strong focus, always had a strong focus in what was the outcome to be achieved, what was the impact that was actually going to happen in the sector. And of course now we're looking at is establishing 3 expansions of Gambina in Queensland, and then hopefully we'll get that model right, and they'll be able to take that to elsewhere and to other communities. And our expansion model is not about taking it into community and delivering out of community. It's actually about giving all of the IP and the processes and systems to a community, and then mentoring them in delivering the program themselves. The next one, and this cap that I actually wear here, is First Australians Capital. And the focus on First Australians Capital is once again moving into this real economy, because this is the changer. And what we're trying to do is doing a couple of things, is developing the capacity of entrepreneurs, of Aboriginal businesses, so they can access the opportunities, but also access the amount of investment opportunity that's actually out there as well. And look, if we went around this room here, and I know certainly from speaking from a national platform, is one of the biggest issues is about accessing capital. To do this in this space, it's about supporting startup, it's about supporting sustainability for businesses that are already running, and also supporting business who are wanting to actually expand. So lastly, the 3 things that I would just kind of leave you with. One is have a dream. The second thing is don't let anyone steal your dream. And the 3 things that I've learned in my time in setting up Green Start businesses is understand your business and be able to articulate it. And these are the perfect opportunities for you to talk to people, and when they say I don't understand it, don't take it as a negative. Take it as I need to go back and redefine my pitch. Be strategic. Be able to articulate how you're going to achieve your goal, and don't let funding compromise what you're trying to do. And the third is, it's just hard work, Don't expect others to do what you wouldn't do. And if you're the leader in your organisation, as much as it sounds funny, leaders have got to lead. Thank you very much.
It's called Don't You Worry. All right, and I think that there's a few with no excuse to get up and dance. So we want to see that. 1, 2, 3.
We're on the train now. You're on the track, the diesel's humming. You better watch out. You gotta know the beat you're drumming, didn't you know? Didn't you know now? All of the diamonds in your pocket, didn't you know now? They're all for you, baby. They're all for you. Come on. So don't you worry, baby. Don't you worry, baby. Something inside saying, don't you worry. It's all in your time. No need to worry. So don't you worry, baby. Don't you worry, baby. Don't you worry, baby. Hey! Don't give up on me now, baby. Don't give up, don't give up. Don't give up on me now, baby. Don't give up, don't give up. Don't give up on me now, baby. Don't give up, don't give up. Don't give up on me now. Back on the track now. Every day is a silver dollar. Didn't you know now? It ain't about what's in your wallet. Didn't you know? Didn't you know, child? All of the diamonds in your pocket. Didn't you know now? They're all for you, baby. They're all for you, baby. Yeah. Don't you worry, baby. Something inside saying, don't you worry. It's all in your time. No need to hurry. Oh, baby.
The 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum.
Since the 2016 White Paper was released by the federal government, they have also committed to certainly a huge increase in spending to re-equip the military and in other areas of business. One of the areas is some $20 billion that will be spent here in the Territory over the next 10 years in the construction industry. So that's one example where we need to be positioning businesses here in the Territory to make sure they are competitive to win a lot of that work. So without further ado, I'll just start with you, Matt. Where do you see the opportunities lying in terms of promoting working for defence in the industry?
Thank you. We're fortunate at Lend-Lease, we're doing a lot of work up in the Northern Territory, and something Tony Razio, our local general manager, spoke about some time ago was creating the opportunity for Northern Territory business. And until you do business here, you don't appreciate the importance of that and how we need to shape what we do for the local businesses. So what are we doing up here? And if I talk about the projects and the size of them, they're significant projects. We're doing some work at Tyndall for NAC, it's $450 million. We're doing work at Delamere worth about $140 million. We're doing the air traffic control tower, we're doing Land 121 projects. We're also doing a hospital here through the health portfolio. The reason I say that is I've done defence for a long time, and they use predominantly what they call a managing contractor model, which doesn't necessarily lend itself to the region you're working in or the businesses you're working with. We need to then shape the packaging and the types of contracts and the payment terms and the way we do business that helps the local businesses but also Indigenous businesses.
Alice, can I now turn to you? You sit here today with many hats on, Savannah Alliance, and you're supporting Aboriginal businesses to develop their own enterprises. What opportunities do you see for your business and more broadly for the Territory?
We realised there was a lot of barriers for Aboriginal businesses after the communities kept approaching me about how they would get into contracts and business. So we set up a social enterprise, which was Savannah Alliance, and that engaged the local Aboriginal businesses to allow us to go into, combine our capability and go in for some of these contracts with Defence. We've won the defence housing. We're doing some work at the moment with JLL. So, and it's sort of tried and tested out the model to see if it was going to be successful. What I'm trying to do is de-risk it so that when an Indigenous business goes in, they're not going to get burnt on the journey. We don't want to see failure.
So, Justin, I'll bring you into the conversation now, and I've only just met you, but I understand that you've been, your focus for the last 25 years has been on working towards building a stronger and healthier nation for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. Can you tell us a bit more about that and where you see the opportunities?
So the work which I think that in my involvement with Supply Nation is ensuring that we can grab hold of the opportunity, but not only just grab hold of the opportunity, but be able to participate in the economy growth. I think it's a very important process to get this right. Failure is something we don't want, but I think that the other part of it is if you look back through the many histories, and we just heard the presentation here, our people have survived for tens of thousands of years, have kept our culture strong through very hard and hard times. So I think in this part, I think we can offer business an edge which for Australians and for this nation, which can probably, be a leader internationally. So getting that balance right is very important, but we can't kind of step out and just provide jobs without also getting the health and education right, and vice versa. There's got to be opportunities when our communities and our young people are ready to take that on.
And now, Kieran, returning to you, you've been appointed just now, a couple of months now. Can you just talk us through how you see the opportunities growing and what Aidan's doing to promote that?
I think what you were talking about is absolutely correct. We are looking for suppliers who are resilient and who can be in the game for a long time. I think Aiden is a network of like-minded suppliers and companies who are either working in the defence space or who have the potential to work in the defence space. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to get suppliers to that level where they are resilient and they are qualified to enter into supply chains. And that's really what the Australian Industry and Defence Network, or AIDEN, that I'm now heading up, is all about. We're there to help suppliers and to bring them on that journey, but also to connect with things like the NTIBN, and other alliance groups or clusters of companies who are working together so that we can bring that whole capacity up to the level that we want.
Alice, can you tell me, as one of the champions of this forum, how do you think it went?
I think it's been a fantastic opportunity to bring Aboriginal businesses from all over the territory and, some of our regional and remote areas. It's not very often we get an opportunity to catch up like this and learn from each other and share experiences, share our stories, listen to some of the, opportunities we've got to build and grow our businesses. So it's been great. But I think we have to keep a balance to make sure that we don't forget about those regional remote voices. It's very hard to set up a business in those communities, especially when they don't have access to telephones and internet and things like that. So, we've just got to keep making sure that they don't get forgotten.
And just lastly, there's a whole focus on developing the north, facing north, from both the Northern Territory Government and the Federal Government. And how do you see this as benefiting Indigenous businesses?
I think the benefit will be if they're put in the very forefront of all of the decision making and the long-term strategies, because I think without it, it won't be as successful as they'd like to see. Aboriginal people are the heartland of this country, and they're not going anywhere. So if you build a business and you build your opportunities, for development with these big contractors around them, not only will they be of benefit when the construction phase is being developed, but for the maintenance of those ongoing facilities into the future is where we're going to have a game changer as far as all the young people. We heard the Chief Minister, 50% of our Aboriginal population in the Northern Territory is under 21. We really have to have some career paths and opportunities for those kids.
The 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum, highlighting the vital role Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses play in the economic growth of the Northern Territory.